What's going on, everybody? I hope you are having a wonderful day. It's the week of a new Berserk chapter, so we should all be in a better mindset than usual. And as I anticipate Chapter 363 coming out this week, I thought about reflecting on some of my favorite Berserk panels throughout the entire series, of which there are way too many to count, way too many to even put into a top 10 list, but that's what I'm going to do anyway. Berserk is a masterpiece of a story, and it has the elegant, amazing artwork to go with it, all done by Kentaro Miura. Almost every single panel in Berserk could probably be its own poster or painting or some kind of mural to put on your wall. Within the 40, almost 41 volumes worth of Berserk, there are countless amazing images on display, and it would be absolutely impossible to try to rank them all. I'm going to do my top 10, and what I'm basing this top 10 on is not so much the quality of the artwork or even its place in the story. I'm kind of basing it on the emotional reaction that I get out of looking at the image itself. Mine are, well, I guess you'll see in a moment, but a lot of them are based on the Guts and Casca relationship, but really it's what I get out of the image itself, as in every time I see this image, it gives me some sort of visceral, emotional reaction, and I'm kind of brought back to either the time that I first read it, or it just reminds me of something in my own life or something that has a lot of meaning to me in many ways. So there might not be a lot of demons and apostle shots here, but I will let you know that all these images definitely made an impact on me throughout my read of Berserk. And I thought it would be fun to just kind of go back through the series and try to remember the specific panels that stood out to me the most throughout my entire read. Again, this is just my own personal list. Some of these images you would probably see on every single Berserk fan's list. Some of the other ones I would think would just be unique to me, but you guys can be the judge. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these panels. Also, put some of your own down below. At least comment on what panels kind of stood out to you the most throughout the entire series or throughout your entire read of Berserk. Which page turn, which panel gave you the biggest reaction that you can remember. At my number 10, I have this image from the Fantasia arc of Guts forcing himself to stand back up in the Berserker armor. And there are many, many amazing Berserker armor shots to choose from. It was very hard to choose, but I needed a Berserker armor shot on this list, most definitely, and I went with this one because during the scene at this time, Guts he's inside of the sea god, things are dark, he can't see very well, he can't feel very well, the pounding of the sea god's heart have kind of put him in his place, he's disoriented, he doesn't know what's going on, and he just has this drive within him. There's this moment where, all could be lost and he could just kind of lay down and let things go, but I think this image speaks to the purpose of a lot of what Berserk's story implies, especially with Guts' character, and that is put simply to struggle against fate itself, to struggle against the world pushing you down, to struggle against death, to try to survive as long as possible, to do it just to do it, to stand the fuck up as long as you have movement in your legs, you can stand up, you have air in your lungs, you have blood in your veins, no matter what you can do, as long as you can keep fighting, keep fighting. No matter what you have left at your disposal, you have something. If there's something there, if you're conscious, you can keep fighting. And I think this image really captures that in a beautiful way. You see the pain, the trauma that he's going through, you see the blood seeping out through the armor, and more so than anything, you see the fact that Guts is not willing to quit, no matter what the circumstance. At my number 9, I have this image from the Fantasia arc again, and this is when Guts and company are journeying through Elfhelm. They finally get to the Elf Island after the enormously long boat ride. They finally get there, and this image this one is actually mostly on the list just due to the artwork itself. I know I said a lot of these are going to be more so of what my emotional reaction to them was, but this one specifically, just because of the sheer volume of characters. I don't know if somebody has actually gone through and counted all of these characters, but there's got to be over 50. You have Guts and crew there, and you have all these different creatures of Elfhelm, all these different kind of elves and fauns and whatever else here is within the island itself. And I think this image is also really beautiful because it also points to most of what we've seen of the supernatural, of the fantasy elements of Berserk have all been horrifying creatures or monsters or demons or anything like that. But here we see all of these sort of beautiful creatures that are working with nature, that aren't trying to harm anything. They're sort of like living on this little island of supposed peace anyway. And it's really cool to see the other side of the spectrum, because for so long in Berserk we were forced to see just the darkness, and it's really cool to see that there is actually something on the other side of that, despite everything that they've gone through. And it also makes you feel satisfied in that how long it took Guts to get to this island, after everything he went through, everything he fought through, and again, the boat journey, he finally made it. And just seeing his crew here, walking across the island, knowing that they are here, and the Casca and everything. It's just such a beautiful moment to me. At number 8, and this one was difficult too, because at number 8, I really wanted an image of Ganishka in his Shiva form, and there was a lot of good ones to choose from, but I chose this one specifically because I feel like this one shows the scale of what Ganishka has become better than any of the other images, because we see the castles at the bottom right of the image here, and we see how Ganishka just towers over them, and it really puts into like a perspective of scale, like I said, imagining how small a person would be to be able to fit into like a window of that castle, and then looking at the sheer size and, dare I say, girth of Ganishka. I think Ganishka's like kaiju Shiva form was something that was really meant to, again, break the reason of the world, as it's called in Berserk, is to show that this is something godlike. This is something that should not exist. This is something that's going to change the world, that human beings are going to witness, and things are never going to be the same again. And like I said, Volume 34 is filled with amazing images and double-page spreads, but I wanted an image that really felt the power and size of Ganishka, because that's what I felt when I read it. I just felt that power, that kind of like how small and insignificant you feel compared to a godlike being. Like you are an ant, and this thing is just this colossal, massive kaiju beast creature, and there is literally no hope. My number 7 pick goes towards the beginning of the Golden Age arc, and this is when Guts was a child, and this is after he had just escaped after killing Gambino, albeit by accident, and the mercenary members kind of hunt him down. He gets an arrow shot through him, he falls off a cliff, and he just lands on the ground, arrow sticking out of him, staring up into the night sky, and specifically at the full moon. And as we know later in the series, the full moon becomes much more significant to Guts as a character, and also to the overall scope of how astral creatures work and everything like that. But beyond that, I just see this boy looking up into the vast, infinite space above him, and it kind of represents that infinite possibility, and also kind of represents this is a moment where Guts could die, where he could literally just kind of roll over and accept his fate. I think even more so a couple moments after this when he faces the pack of wolves. But it's a moment where, and one of the first moments where Guts could just give up. Like, he has no one at this point. He has no parental figure. He has no place to go. He only knows the sword and how to kill. And it's almost as if the world wouldn't really miss him if he died. But again, he does choose to stand up and continue moving forward. But as far as this panel goes, I think it's just this great little moment of him reflecting on and considering all of that. You know, what he should do, and if he should just lay here forever, or if he should stand back up. What does it all mean? Where am I going? What should I do? And it just kind of really makes me think about all these things. At my number 6 spot, I have this image from the Millennium Empire arc where Zod transforms into his full apostle form to fight Guts for their rematch. And I think this one, similar to the Ganishka one, is just feeling the sheer sense of power coming out of this image. I really feel like I'm watching Zod grow several sizes here. Don't take that the wrong way. But anyways, the point is, this image just screams badass. I look at this photo and I want to throw down. I want to fight something. I want to punch something. It just gets me pumped up. It's just one of those panels that's like, puts you into full sort of masculine, like, I need to go hit the punching bag really hard or lift some weight. Like, this is just too intense as Guts holds a sword ready for the oncoming onslaught of Zod, and I just love it. At my number 5 pick, I have this image of Guts towards the end of the Conviction arc where he sees Griffith being incarnated and has this moment of choice. And Skull Knight had mentioned to him before that he's going to have this choice of where he could protect Casca or go after his dream of vengeance, and that he wouldn't be able to do both. And Guts at this point had gone through so much, and I'll talk about this more in my number 1 image, but you know, he had thrown everything away and gone into this solitude, into this darkness, creating his beast of darkness, you know, pushing everything away so that he could go on this quest for vengeance. And while he spends all this time trying to avenge the past, what he's doing is losing what he has left of the present, which is Casca. And granted, Casca isn't in her right mind right now or anything. She's broken, but she's still there. He still cares about her. He still loves her. And this is a great moment where he chooses a person over his dream, which is something that Griffith could not accept. You know, Griffith, when pushed to the brink, where he had a choice between people he cared about or his dream, he eventually came to the realization that his dream was more important, that it had more precedence over it. And I think this panel, maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but I feel like it had the opposite effect, where Guts had a similar choice: follow his dream or protect the person he loves, and he chose to protect the person that he loves. And I think there's something really powerful in that. And as you'll notice, as we get closer to my number one, these are going to be more and more Guts and Casca images. I'm sorry, it's just I gravitate towards their relationship so much, and it's a big part of why I love the series, and so these are going to be why these are some of my top 10. But my number 4 pick is this image of Casca hugging Guts from behind, with Guts crying. And the reason why this is here is because this is during the Wounds chapters, which is my favorite chapter of Berserk, both Wounds part 1 and 2. And this is a moment after Guts had just broken down to Casca and admitted to her everything that happened in his childhood, and how he was molested, and how he was sold out by Gambino, and how he killed Gambino and he didn't mean to. He killed his father figure, and he breaks down explaining why he hates to be touched and everything. And he felt as though he was taking advantage of Casca the same way he was taken advantage of, because he put himself in that sort of that dominant role. And he didn't want to see himself like that, similar to Donovan at all. But also, he had just broken down in front of her. And just even in general, everyday life, it's a hard thing for men to break down in front of women. And even more so is a lot of times when you do, you don't necessarily get that sort of comfort and positive reaction back. Many times in life, not just between men and women, but just in general, many times in life when you show weakness, it leaves this sort of bitter taste in someone else's mouth. If they see you in a particular way and you show your weakness, a lot of times people will view you differently, or, once your flaws are put on display, people look at you differently. And Guts, the toughest guy around, broke down crying in front of this woman who was going to take his virginity, and imagine the shame that he would feel from that. And as he turns away, being like, I understand, you don't want to go through with this, I get it. She just hugs him from behind, fully accepting who he is, everything that he went through, and everything that they're going to go through moving forward. And I just find that to be absolutely beautiful, that both of these, and the same thing happens back and forth. Both these characters accept each other for their faults and scars and wounds and all. That's the whole point of the reason why the chapter is called Wounds, is because they do have these physical and psychological wounds and damage, but they both accept each other because of it. And they both want a wound given to them by the other person, metaphorically, meaning that it's time for you. I want you to make an impact in my life as well. And they both fully accept that. And again, the characters being naked here, again, symbolizes just that being naked emotionally in front of somebody and just fully accepting each other. And it's just goddamn fucking beautiful. Oh my God, fuck beautiful. My number 3 pick is this image from the Conviction arc. I think the only image here that actually has dialogue. And it is Guts holding Jill from behind and telling her that there's no paradise for her to escape to. Now, the entire Lost Children segment of the Conviction arc is sort of a coming-of-age story for Jill, but also it's her, wanting to escape her horrible life situation and go somewhere else. And I think that Conviction arc really, as a whole, is Berserk at its most darkest at a lot of times, especially the Lost Children chapters. It's definitely Guts at his darkest. And what it's presenting here is this naivety of a child wanting to venture out, that things will be different once I escape. Things will be different once I get out of this life situation and into another. And I think, again, going beyond Berserk as a whole, but just talking about life in general, I think what Guts is saying here, there's no paradise for you to escape to, is that this is life. Life is hard, life is cruel, life is brutal, life is unfair, and it doesn't matter where you go, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to face struggle for the rest of your life, no matter what. He's showing her that his particular struggle is much worse than others, since there are demons constantly driven towards him, and that Jill is better off not following Guts for that reason. But I think the meaning behind what he's saying, the deeper meaning that I believe Kantara was trying to show, is that that's the difference between childhood and adulthood, is this naivety between thinking you can escape, but really life from the day you're born to the day you die is struggle. Now, my number 2 pick kind of goes back into picking it just because it's absolutely badass, and that is when Skull Knight appears behind Femto, on top of Ganishka, ready to slice the shit out of him with the Balet sword. It doesn't really work out too well, but that page turn in this image, oh my god. This is one of the coolest looking images in all of Berserk. I absolutely love this panel. I love this page. This is so chaotic. Everything that's happening here. Like, look, there's just this giant demon god hand thing on top of another giant demon thing, with Skull Knight being whatever the hell Skull Knight is, and then Zod in the background just going, "Nani?" Like, it is so crazy. There's so much shit going on in this image, and also just to see Skull Knight coming out of nowhere, just slicing a hole in reality and getting ready to, to pump this sword up Femto's ass is just amazing. It's just too bad it doesn't work. And my number 1, my favorite panel in Berserk is this panel right here from the Conviction arc, where Guts finally makes it to the top of the Tower of Conviction, has finally defeated Mosgus, and is actually able to hold Casca for the first time since before leaving for his journey. As in the entire Conviction arc, he is trying to get to her. He's trying to make amends for leaving. He's just trying to get to Casca once more, and he has such difficulty doing so. And I think the reason why this is my favorite panel in all of Berserk mostly has to do with the look on Guts' face. I think so much is portrayed, and it might just be me projecting, but I feel like so much is portrayed in this image of Guts coming to Casca and hugging her in an embrace where he's thinking, he's saying, he's showing that, one, he is sorry. He's sorry for leaving her, but he's also sorry for pushing her away, and he's sorry for everything that she had to go through that he didn't want to face. You know, she's the one that lost her mind because of this. She's the one that's been lost physically. She's the one that was going to be burned at the stake. She's the one that's suffering for this, and he could have stayed and tried to take care of her, but it was too hard for him and he couldn't face it. And so this is like an apology for not being able to face it. This is an apology for thinking that he had to leave. This is an apology for putting his dream above what Casca represented to him, for trying to like lock his heart and make his heart cold in the same way that Griffith did for him. This is a panel of respect for everything that Casca was and everything that she is now. Even if she's not the same as she once was, it still means a lot to him. She still means the world to him. It doesn't matter what state of mind that she's in. It doesn't matter what she can be for him. What matters is her. It's a complete admiration and appreciation for everything that she was, everything that she is, and everything that could be in the future. I love this image so much. I love the pain in Guts' face, both the physical pain and the emotional pain, and he's just in this moment of deep sorrow and yet deep relief that he finally is here. He's physically holding Casca, and it's just I don't know, I love it. I'm gonna get it tattooed on me someday. It's fucking great. But it's actually not my favorite image. My favorite panel of Berserk is this one right here, showing the most gorgeous, elegant, beautiful, sexy creature to ever exist in any manga. Fuck, that's hot.